All right, so I want to go through the first codes that we have to have for every single web page. So first of all, we have the doc type, and again that tells the browser how to read the code. And then we have our HTML open and HTML close tags. This is open, this is close. Every single website has to have an HTML open and close tag, and everything that you're going to put on your page is going to be inside those two. So this one should always be on line 2, and this one should always be the last line of your document. But there's something that we generally add to the HTML tag. Whenever you add anything to a tag, it's usually called an attribute. There's not a whole lot of attributes that you can add to the HTML tag, but in this case, we're going to have put our cursor in between the L in HTML and the closing caret. We're going to do a space, and then we're going to type in the word or the letters LANG for language. That's short for language. Equals, and then everything has to be in quotes. So we're going to do quote EN for English. Now you can choose the EN from the drop down, or you can just simply click off of it. Either way, it will go away. Notice that I've made changes to my document, and so now there's a little circle next to the word index.html up here, and also in the working files. Again, that's to let you know that you've made changes and haven't saved it. So anytime you see that, you know that you need to save it. All right, so then I'm going to drop down a line. Notice how I indented. Sometimes I indented, sometimes I don't indent. I didn't do it on purpose. The program did it for me. And if you code out of order sometimes, or if you get in a hurry and you're doing things and you haven't closed something, sometimes it won't indent for you. It's just a preference whether you want something indented or not. It doesn't have to be that way. It's not going to change the way the browser reads it. Okay, so the next tag that we're going to talk about is the head tag, and it's simply an open caret, the word head, and a closed caret. And notice that as soon as I closed it, or put the closing caret, the program automatically put the closing head tag in. So if you have your document saved from the beginning, as you're coding, the program will finish things for you. It's actually very nice. So you want to make sure that whenever you start a new document, you always do the save right away and add the .html so you can get the code hinting and all the other perks that come with coding in these programs. Okay, so everything should go in the head tag that you need the browser to know, but not necessarily the user to see. Okay? And also people get this head tag confused with the header tag and the heading tags. And I know it can be confusing, but every single page is definitely going to have the head tag. It definitely has to be right underneath the HTML tag, but it also has to be before your body tag. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the body tag right away so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to do open caret, the word body, and then a close caret. And it automatically closed my body tag for me. So I'm going to just hit return a couple times so that I have some space. Now typically these two are right next to each other because you're not going to ever have anything in between the closing body tag and the closing HTML tag. So if you want to get rid of any spaces that are in between those two, that's fine. If you want to cut and paste it so that it's right above the closing HTML tag, that's fine too. So everything that the user is going to see is going to be coded within the body tags. Everything that the browser needs to know about, but the user doesn't necessarily see, is going to be in between the open and close head tag. And again, typically you won't have anything in between the closing head tag and the opening body tag. So if you want to get rid of extra spaces, you can do that as well. it's up to you. It's just a preference thing. If you want to have a space there so it's easier to read, that's fine too. Now the header tag and the heading tags will always be within this body tag. So that's one way that you can tell the difference between the three tags. Head tag is required and always above the body tag. Header and heading tags are not necessarily required, but they only go inside the body tag. All right, let's go back and take a look at what should be in the head tag. I put my cursor after the closing caret of the head tag opening tag, and I hit return and see how it automatically indented for me. So that's good, that's what I like. Now right under the head tag, I'm going to do open caret title, close caret, and again I get the closing tag for me, which is great. So this should be the title of the website, not the web page, but the website. Now the title should almost always be the company name. Some things that you want to think about when coming up with a title name. Search engines use titles not only to rank you, but also to find what category and what kind of information your website needs to go in. So what I usually do is I make sure that not only the company's name is in the title, but also some keywords or a tag phrase that maybe that company would do. So let's say this company is going to be a web design company or a graphic design company. What I would do in the very beginning, before the name, but after the closing caret, is I would start with the letter A. So I would do a great design company, or maybe a great design company for all your designing needs. Now, why would I do that? Well, I do that because first of all, I want my title to start with the letter A. And this is because of search engine optimization again. So there's a lot of things that go into a thought process behind what the title should be. It should never be forgotten, and it should never be empty, because that is very unprofessional, and it will always show up in the browser as untitled. To show you what I mean, I'm going to save this real quick. It's already index.html. It's already named, so I don't need to name it. So I can either go to File, Save, or there's a shortcut here, Command S. So I can do Command S to save it real quick, and my dot goes away. And on a PC, it is Control S. Control S on a PC, Command S on a Mac. Okay, so now that I've saved it, I'm going to go into my browser and I'm going to refresh and see where my tab is. It says a great design company for all. So it won't show me everything in the tab that I've said. If I hover over it, I get a tooltip that tells me everything. So just make sure that everything you have in the title pertains to that company you are working for. All right, let's take a look at a couple of other things that go inside the head tag. The next thing we're going to do is do open caret, and we're going to say meta. There's a lot of different meta tags out there. So because there's a lot of different meta tags, they all must have some kind of an attribute with it. So we do a space so that we can type our attributes. Attributes always have to be separated by a space from their tag name. And this one is going to be CHARSET, character set. And there's lots of different character sets that you can see in here, but we're going to use UTF-8, which is Universal Typeface 8. And then I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now, one thing that you can leave it closed like this, browsers do read it, but meta tags are self-closing. So technically you should have a space, forward slash, and then the closing caret. Now there's a few tags that are going to be self-closing like this, and so we will talk about them. Most of the time, the tags that are within the body that are self-closing need to be finished like this. Now, browsers are smart, and browsers fix our mistakes, which is really bad for a beginning learner because you'll be writing bad code and don't even know it because the browser will fix it for you and still show you the code. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because small little mistakes it can fix, but it's a curse because you need to learn how to code professionally. So you want to make sure that you're not making mistakes that potential employers could see. All right, the next tag that we're going to look at is another meta tag. So we type in meta and then a space. And this one is going to be simply name. And then we're going to say equals and then quotes. Now, the one that we're going to add is not technically in here, but you can always add an author. Excuse me. And then you can do content and then your name or the company name or something like that. But this is not required. So I'm going to go ahead and put a comment to the open caret exclamation point dash dash. And then I'm going to close it dash dash close caret. So this is grayed out because it is a comment that I am writing for you. You can write comments to help you remember things. When I'm coding and when I'm teaching you things, you can type in a comment so that you can add something so that you can remember. So there's all kinds of reasons why we would have comments. All right, let's get back to the one that is required. So it's open caret meta space name equals quote, and then we're going to type in viewport. And I'm going to use my arrow keys to go on the other side of the quote. I'm going to do space content, and then in the quotes I'm going to type in width equals device dash width, comma, space initial dash scale equals 1. And then I'm going to close that with this self-closing space forward slash and then caret. Okay, so what this does is this line is required for any responsive website. So anything that you are going to make responsive and you want the browser to read your responsive code, you absolutely have to have this line of code. Now we're not going to do responsive design until after midterm, but the reason why I'm showing you this line of code now and I'm telling you about this line of code now is because I want you to start coding it in every single time you code, because we really can't do websites these days without making them responsive. So we need to have it. And if I wait until after week 8 to have you guys start coding this, then a lot of you forget. All right, I'm going to stop there. I just want to reiterate that every single website is required to have all of these pieces except maybe this line, which I'm going to go ahead and move my comment so that I comment the whole entire line out. It's still there, but it's grayed out now. It's commented out. And in the next video, we're going to look at some actual files. I'm going to go ahead and save this. We're going to look at some codes that we can put in so that the browser will actually show you something.